Imagine this, you wake up 2 years from today. You check your phone, not to scroll through Instagram, not to snooze your alarm, but to check your investment portfolio. And you see a number that makes you sit up straight in bed. A number you never thought was possible for someone like you. Someone who started with nothing. Someone who used to wonder how people actually built real wealth. Now here's the uncomfortable question. What if the only difference between that version of you and the current version of you is just 2 years of doing the right things? No lottery, no inheritance, no viral moment, no luck, just a system. A repeatable, boring, unsexy system that almost nobody talks about because it doesn't get clicks, it doesn't sell courses, and it doesn't make for a good Instagram post. My name is Max, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact framework that, if you follow it for 24 consecutive months, makes it statistically, mathematically, and psychologically almost impossible for you to stay poor. Stay with me, because most people will click off this video in the first 60 seconds, and most people will still be broke in 2 years. Don't be most people. Why 2 years is the magic number? Here's something nobody tells you when you're starting out. Wealth is not built in a day, but it's also not built in a decade. The real turning point, the moment where momentum becomes unstoppable, happens between month 18 and month 24 for most people who follow a disciplined financial system. Why? Because of 3 forces that collide at exactly that moment. The first force is compound interest. You've heard of it. You probably don't respect it enough yet. When you start investing consistently, the first few months feel like you're throwing money into a black hole. You invest $500 and your portfolio goes to $510. Thrilling, right? But here's what happens between month 18 and month 24. Your returns start generating their own returns at a rate that actually becomes visible. You start seeing real numbers, real growth, and that visual feedback changes your psychology permanently. The second force is skill compounding. Every single month that you spend learning about money, investing, business, and financial systems, you become slightly better at identifying opportunities. Month 1, you're a beginner. Month 6, you're dangerous. Month 12, you're competent. Month 24, you think differently than 95% of the population. Your brain has been rewired. The third force is behavioral momentum. After 24 months of doing the right things, those things are no longer decisions. They're defaults. You don't decide to invest. You just invest. You don't decide to avoid lifestyle inflation. You just avoid it. The habits have calcified into identity. And once wealth building becomes part of your identity, poverty becomes structurally incompatible with who you are. 2 years. That's the window. Let's talk about how to use it. Month 1 to 3. The foundation nobody wants to build. I know you want to talk about stocks, crypto, real estate, side hustles. We'll get there. But if you skip this section, everything else crumbles. I've seen it happen hundreds of times. The first 3 months are about one thing only: knowing your numbers. Most people have absolutely no idea where their money goes. They have a vague sense that they spend too much on food. Maybe they're paying for subscriptions they forgot about, and at the end of the month, they're just out of money. No idea why. That's not a spending problem. That's a visibility problem. Your first task in month 1 is to create what I call a brutal audit. Go through every single transaction from the last 90 days. Every coffee, every impulse buy, every subscription, every transfer. Categorize every single one. This exercise alone, I'm not even asking you to change anything yet. This exercise alone will make you feel alone, slightly sick, because you will find money you didn't know you were losing. The average person who does a brutal audit discovers between $300 and $800 per month in spending that brings them zero measurable happiness or utility. $300 to $800 per month every month evaporating into nothing. Now, here's your second task for months 1 through 3. Build your emergency fund. I know this is unsexy. I know you want to invest. But here's the hard truth. If you start investing before you have an emergency fund, one car repair, one medical bill, one unexpected expense will force you to pull your money out of the market at exactly the wrong time. The emergency fund is not a savings account. It is the foundation that allows every other financial move to be made from a position of strength rather than desperation. 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's your target. Keep it in a high-yield savings account, not a regular savings account that pays you 0.01% and laughs at you. A high-yield savings account. Right now, in this current rate environment, you can earn between 4% and 5% on that money, while it sits there doing its job as your financial buffer. Months 1 through 3. Audit, cut, build the buffer, no shortcuts. Month 4 to 6. Your first wealth-building machine. By month 4, you have clarity on your cash flow. You've trimmed the fat. You have an emergency fund started or completed. Now you get to do the exciting thing. Now you get to start building a machine that makes money while you sleep. The first machine is simple, it's boring, and it has made more millionaires than any other vehicle in human history. I'm talking about index fund investing. Here's the system. Every single month on the same day, you transfer a fixed amount of money into a broad market index fund, an S&P 500 index fund, a total market fund, a global index fund, something that tracks the overall economy rather than betting on individual companies. You do this regardless of what the market is doing. If the market is up, you invest. If the market is down, you invest. Actually celebrate because you're buying at a discount. If there's a recession, you invest. If there's a war, you invest. If Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called by the time you watch this, is in full panic mode, you invest. This strategy is called dollar cost averaging, and the reason it works so powerfully over a 2-year period is that it removes emotion from the equation entirely. You stop trying to time the market, which, statistically, even the smartest hedge fund managers in the world cannot do consistently. You just buy. Every month, same amount, same day, set it and forget it. Now, how much should you invest? The answer is as much as possible, but never so much that you feel financial pain that leads to quitting. Consistency beats intensity every time. Investing $300 every single month without fail is dramatically better than investing $1,000 one month and then nothing for 3 months because you're broke and stressed. During months 4 through 6, your other job is to start building what I call a financial education stack. Read one finance book per month. Watch educational content, not entertainment content dressed up as education. Actual content that teaches you how money works. Start with the basics, how interest rates work, what inflation actually means for your money, the difference between assets and liabilities, how tax-advantaged accounts work in your country. This knowledge will compound just like your money does, and in 12 months you will look at financial decisions through a completely different lens. Month 7 to 12. Introducing income acceleration. Here's something the traditional financial advice world gets wrong. They treat income as a fixed variable. They say, work with what you have, budget carefully, invest wisely. And while that's not wrong, it's dangerously incomplete. Because the fastest way to build wealth is not to spend less. It's to earn more and then spend the same. Month 7 is when you start working on your income in parallel with everything you've already built. And I want to be specific here, because start a side hustle is the most useless advice on the internet. Let me give you an actual framework. Look at the skills you already have from your current job or life experience. What do you know how to do that other people struggle with? What do people regularly ask you for help with? What problems can you solve that others would pay to have solved? That intersection, your existing skills applied to a specific problem for a specific type of person, is your side income vehicle. It doesn't have to be revolutionary. A graphic designer who takes on 2 freelance clients per month, a teacher who tutors on weekends, a project manager who consults for small businesses, a writer who creates content for local companies. None of these are glamorous. All of them are real, executable, and scalable. The goal in months 7 through 12 is not to replace your income, The goal is to generate an additional $500 to $1,500 per month from a source other than your primary job. Because here's the rule I live by. Every single dollar of side income goes directly into your investment accounts, not into your lifestyle, not into a nicer car, not into eating out more, directly into the machine. This single decision, channeling all extra income into investments, is what separates the people who build wealth from the people who make more money and somehow always end up with the same amount left over. By the end of month 12, if you've followed this system, here's roughly where you are. Your emergency fund is fully funded. You have been investing consistently for 8 months. Your investments have already begun to grow. You have a side income stream producing real cash every month, and your financial literacy is significantly higher than it was a year ago. That's not nothing. That is a completely different foundation than the one you started on. Month 13 to 18. The psychological shift. Something interesting happens around month 13. The novelty is worn off. The initial motivation you felt when you started this journey has faded. The results are real, but they don't feel real yet because the numbers aren't dramatic enough to produce genuine excitement. This is the danger zone. This is where most people quit. They've been doing the right things for over a year. They're not rich yet. The dopamine hit of starting something new has evaporated, and slowly, quietly, old habits start creeping back. A few extra purchases here, a skipped investment month there, a gradual expansion of lifestyle, and before they know it, they've drifted back to baseline. I want to prepare you for this in advance because awareness is the best defense. Month 13 through 18 is about building systems that protect the habit even when motivation disappears. Because motivation is unreliable, it's a feeling, and feelings change. Systems don't. Here's the most powerful system you can implement: automation. Every investment transfer should be automatic. Your savings should move without any input from you. Your financial decisions should be made in advance when you're calm and rational, and then executed automatically so that your emotional, impulsive, human self never even gets the opportunity to intercept the money. This is what wealthy people do. They don't rely on willpower. They engineer their financial environment so that the right behavior is the default behavior. During this period, I also want you to do something that feels counterintuitive. I want you to start tracking your net worth. Not obsessively, not every day, but once a month. Write down your assets, write down your liabilities, calculate the difference, then write it down again next month and the month after. Watching your net worth grow, even slowly, is one of the most motivating things you can do during this critical middle phase. Because wealth isn't about cash flow in isolation, it's about your total financial position moving in the right direction over time. A rising net worth, even a slowly rising one, is proof that the system is working. And that proof is what sustains the behavior. Month 19 to 24, when everything compounds. We are now in the home stretch, and this is where things start to get genuinely exciting. By month 19, you have been investing consistently for 15 plus months. Your compound interest is now producing returns that are visibly meaningful. Your side income has likely grown as you've gotten better at it and more confident in delivering results. Your financial knowledge is in the top tier of your social circle, and your habits are, at this point, essentially automatic. Now it's time to think about expansion. The first expansion move is to review and increase your investment contributions. You've been living on a budget for 18 months. You've proven you can do it. Now ask yourself, can you increase your monthly investment by 10%? By 20%? Even a modest increase at this stage has a disproportionate impact on your long-term trajectory due to compounding. The second expansion move is to explore your second income stream. You have one already. Could you productize it? Could you turn your freelance skill into a small agency? Could you turn your knowledge into a course or digital product that makes money while you sleep? This is the phase where side income starts to become a real business if you choose to pursue it. The third expansion move, and this one is for people who have been disciplined enough to accumulate a meaningful amount of capital, is to explore additional asset classes. real estate, individual stocks if you now have the knowledge and risk tolerance, a small business, acquisition, alternative investments. At this point, you have the financial literacy, the emotional discipline, and potentially the capital to explore beyond index funds. But notice that I placed this at month 19, not month 1. The sequence matters. By month 24, here's what you have built: a fully funded emergency fund, a consistently growing investment portfolio, an additional income source that generates real money every month, a level of financial literacy that puts you ahead of 90% of your peers, and most importantly, a completely different relationship with money. You no longer fear it. You no longer feel confused by it. You don't feel like it controls you. You have a system, and the system works, and you know it works because you have 24 months of data and growth to prove it. The one thing most people miss. I want to end with something that doesn't get talked about enough. And that's the social environment. Your financial progress over these 2 years will be directly impacted by the people around you. Not because they're bad people, but because human beings are social creatures who unconsciously calibrate their behavior to the norms of their group. If everyone around you spends impulsively, upgrades their car every 2 years, and treats saving money as a character flaw, the gravitational pull of that environment will drag against everything you're trying to build. You don't need to cut off your friends, but you do need to be intentional about finding at least a few people, in person, online, anywhere, who are on the same path. People who talk about investing without embarrassment. People who celebrate financial discipline rather than mock it. People who are building something, because the 2-year journey I've described is doable. It is absolutely doable, but it is not easy, and you should not attempt it alone. Find your people, share your progress, learn from others. Be part of a community of people who are choosing to build rather than consume. The final challenge. Here's my challenge to you right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Write down one number, the amount of money you currently invest per month. If that number is 0, write 0. No judgment, just truth. Now write down what that number could realistically be if you did a brutal audit this week and redirected the money you're losing to nothing. That second number invested consistently for 24 months in a simple index fund, with side income layered on top. That is the foundation of a completely different financial life. 2 years from today, you're going to be somewhere. The only question is whether you're going to be somewhere different from where you are now, or whether you're going to be in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. The system works, the math works, the psychology works, all of it works. But only if you start, and only if you refuse to stop. Now tell me in the comments what topic you want me to do for the next video. See you in the next one.